Good day to you all. In this class, we will discuss about the subject electrical and electronic instrumentation. In this subject, in particular, we will discuss about errors in measurement. Normally, errors will occur in a system due to environmental effects, due to human mistakes, and some more reasons are there. In this chapter, we will discuss about different types of errors like gross errors, systematic errors, random errors, and statistical analysis of random errors. First, coming to types of errors, broadly, these errors are divided into three types: gross errors, systematic errors, and third one is random errors. First one, coming to gross errors, these will occur mainly due to human mistakes. Human mistakes in reading the value, noting down the value, and calculating the final result, and also while doing the experiment or while performing incorrect adjustment of the instrument. And these errors cannot be treated mathematically. Mathematically, we cannot express these errors, and they cannot be resolved mathematically. And normally, these errors can be eliminated by taking great care while reading the value, recording the value, and calculating the data. And also, by taking more number of readings and taking by average, we can reduce some extent. Then coming to systematic errors, these systematic errors will occur due to a systematic deviation of the measured value from the true value. So, with some proportionate, a systematic procedure, systematic value, the measured value will deviate from the true value. The error occurring due to this deviation is known as systematic error. These systematic errors are mainly due to problem in the instrument components and environmental effects and some observational errors also. These errors are broadly divided into three types: instrumental errors, environmental errors, and observational errors. Then coming to instrumental errors, as I told you, these errors will occur because of shortcomings in the instrument, such as mechanical structure of the instrument, friction in the bearings, irregular spring tensions, hysteresis in the component, storage effect in the component, variation in air gap in electromechanical instruments, and misuse of instrument with improper rating and improper method, poor initial adjustment, poor initial zero setting, and improper leads, and if there is loading effect, then also these errors will occur. So these are the main reasons for instrumental errors. For eliminating instrumental errors, as usual, whatever reasons are there, we have to overcome those reasons. That is, instrument should be intelligently used with correct procedure and correct method, and instrument should not be used with loading effect, and proper instrument should be selected for proper measurement. Its rating and all we have to check, and then we have to select the instrument for the application. Then proper correction factors should be introduced for eliminating errors. If at all there is positive error, we have to give negative correction. Like that, correction factors we have to select, and properly we have to calibrate the instrument, and frequently we have to calibrate the instruments. By these methods, these instrumental errors can be some extent reduced. Then coming to environmental effects. Environmental effects are nothing but the environment surrounding the equipment. Surrounding the measuring equipment is known as environment. If at all any changes occurs in the environment of the instrument, then errors will occur. These errors are known as environmental errors. Example for these environmental conditions are temperature, pressure, vibrations, thermal EMF, electric field, magnetic field, stray capacitance, etc. So these should not vary If this varies, then environmental errors will occur. And for eliminating these environmental errors, we have to use these instruments as specified by the manufacturer. During manufacturing process, they will design the components of the instrument to work satisfactorily at certain ratings, certain pressure, certain temperature and all. So if you use the environment at the same conditions as specified by manufacturer, it will work satisfactorily. So that is one method. One method means one precaution to be taken. We have to use the equipment in the environmental conditions specified by the manufacturer. Manufacturer. Next one is using proper correction factors and proper instrument catalog. And next one is using temperature and pressure control methods. So manufacturer will specify some temperature and pressure for the equipment to operate satisfactorily. We have to keep those temperature values and pressure values constants around the equipment by controlling temperature and pressure in that vicinity of the instrument. And another method of eliminating these environmental errors is reducing the effect of dust, humidity. We have to take care dust, humidity will not come into the vicinity of instrument. And we can provide electromagnetic and electrostatic screens so that instrument will not be affected by these electromagnetic effects. Next, coming to observational errors. These errors are introduced by observer while reading the reading, calculating and all. So while reading, normally if the instrument is having needle, then parallax error will occur. So that is due to observational error. Wrong scale selection, incorrect conversion methods, conversion units, inaccurate estimation of average reading. These are all leads to observational errors. For eliminating these errors, we have to eliminate parallax error. For eliminating parallax error, we have to use mirrors on the instrument if it is indicating instrument, and pointer should be sharp and thin so that easy reading can be easily noted. And if at all digital meter is available, it is better. In that case, there will not be any parallax error. And for calculating the value also, if we use digital systems such as computer and all, errors will be eliminated to some extent. Then coming to random errors, as the name suggests, these errors, we don't know the reasons for these errors. So these errors will occur with unknown reasons. These errors cannot be determined by normal measurement process. An example for this one is error occurring due to noise introduced during the transmission of the measured value. So error due to noise is the example for this. Next, for eliminating these random errors, for estimating these random errors, we have to go for, because we cannot measure these errors directly, we have to go for statistical methods. In these statistical methods, we have to measure the same quantity number of times. We have to measure the same quantity number of times, and we have to calculate the statistical parameters like mean, deviation, average deviation, standard deviation, variation and all. All these parameters we have to determine. By observing these parameters, we have to estimate the random errors. And we can also use histogram and Gaussian curve of errors for estimating these random errors. First, going to histogram. So as I told you, these errors can be estimated by measuring the same quantity number of times. Same quantity we are measuring number of times. So one time, for example, let's suppose we are measuring a temperature of 100 degree Fahrenheit number of times. So 100 degree will occur more number of times. Sometimes some readings we will get 90, sometimes we will get 80, sometimes we will get 60, 70, like that. And also we may get more readings also during measurement we may get 110 degree Fahrenheit, 120 degrees Fahrenheit, 130 degree Fahrenheit, like that. But 100 degree Fahrenheit will occur more number of times, and deviation, this is the average value or correct value, true value, 100 degree Fahrenheit. So deviations will occur, for example 90 will occur less number of times, 20 times, 80 is occurring only 10 times, and 70 is occurring only 14 times, like that. Similarly 110 is occurred 15 times, whereas 100 has occurred almost 27 or 28 times. That is, the histogram shows number of occurrences of a reading on y-axis and measured value on x-axis. So these strips will show how many times that particular reading has occurred. And from this we can observe that measured values are scattered from the central value on the upper side, increasing higher side and also lower side. Then coming to Gaussian curve of errors or normal distribution curve. This curve is also called as normal distribution curve. This is similar to this Gaussian curve, this histogram. In the histogram, number of occurrences we have shown in strips. Instead of strips, rectangular strips, if you show them as lines, vertical lines, and if you join all the tips of the lines, you will get a curve like this. So in this case also, I will repeat it, in this case also we will measure the same quantity infinity times, and we will get a central value more number of times. So here instead of drawing these vertical strips, we are putting points like in a graph. So, and on x-axis, on y-axis we are taking number of occurrences. On x-axis we are taking deviation of each reading. Deviation of readings means if you measure a value, you will get x1 value. Like first time if you measure, let's suppose you will get x1 value. True value is say x. So measured value minus true value, x1 minus x, is called deviation of that reading. That is how much extent it is deviated from the mean value. So that deviations are taken on x-axis. So in the graph, if you observe, on the y-axis number of occurrences are taken, on the x-axis number of deviations are taken, deviations of each reading are taken. So this curve is known as Gaussian curve or normal distribution curve. Next, from this Gaussian curve, and according to law of probability, number of occurrences of any deviation is given by y is equal to h by root pi e power minus h square x square, where x is equal to deviation from mean, y is equal to number of readings occurring at deviation x, and h is equal to precision index. In terms of standard deviation, if we express same, y is equal to 1 by sigma root 2 pi e power minus x square divided by 2 sigma square, you will get. And the error distribution curve indicates small errors are more probable than large errors, and large errors will not occur more frequently. So small errors will occur frequently. There is an equal probability of plus and minus errors, so that the probability of given error will be symmetrical about the zero value. Then coming to probable error, when the area between, you draw two ordinates, one at x is equal to minus r and another one at x is equal to plus r. So the area between x is equal to minus r, x is equal to plus r, x-axis, and the Gaussian curve is equal to half of the total area under the curve, then plus or minus r is called probable error. That is, half of observed deviations lie between plus or minus r. R can be found by solving this equation, that is h by root 5 integral minus r to plus r e power minus h square x square into dx is equal to half. And after solving this, you will get probable error is equal to 0.4769 divided by h. Number of readings occurring between x1 and x2 is given by this equation, and the probability of finding any deviation between x1 and x2 is given by probability x1 x2 is equal to h by root of root pi integral x1 to x2 e power minus h square x square dx. And coming to statistical analysis of measurement data, for estimating the random errors, the following terms are normally used. 1. Arithmetic mean. Second one, deviation. Third one, average deviation. Fourth one, standard deviation. And fifth one, variance. Coming to arithmetic mean, it is, if you measure same quantity n times, you may get x1, x2, x3 up to xn value. So you take the average of all these values, you will get the mean value of all these values, that is called as arithmetic value or average value or mean value. Then coming to deviation, deviation is nothing but it is the departure of observed reading from the arithmetic mean of the group of readings. So in the previous one we have calculated mean value, arithmetic mean. So departure of a value, a measured value from the mean or average value is known as deviation of that reading. And if you have x1, x2, x3 up to xn readings, we can calculate deviations of all the readings. So let the deviations be d1, d2 up to dn. Average of all these deviations we can calculate using this formula. Capital D is equal to d1 plus d2 plus d3 and up to dn divided by n. Next, dispersion or scatter or spread. This dispersion denotes how much extent the measured values are deviated, how much extent the measured values are occupied. That is, it denotes how much extent the measured values are dispersed from the central value. We have some central value, that mean value. From mean value, how much extent the readings are dispersed. It is specified by dispersion, scatter or spread. And for curve 1, the values are scattered from x1 to x2, and for curve 2, the values are scattered from x3 to x4. That is, the curve 1 is having less dispersion, and curve 2 is having larger dispersion or scatter. Next, range of readings. It is the difference between maximum and least values of data. So if you measure same quantity n number of times, you will get n readings. In those readings, we can determine maximum value, maximum reading and minimum reading. The difference between maximum reading and minimum reading will give us the range of data. Next, coming to standard deviation. Standard deviation is nothing but square root of the average of all squared individual deviations. So in the previous slide we have discussed deviations of all the readings. If you take square root of average of all the squared individual deviations, we will get standard deviation. Next, coming to variance. Variance is nothing but square of standard deviation. It is square of standard deviation. Oh, thank you. Thank you for listening this video.